Today, we're going to do a little bit of
unboxing.
That's right. We're going to unbox, you ready for this? A stone shirt. Stone shirt. Now, I haven't seen it yet, only in photos, so we're actually going to open this up for the first time. This comes to us from Canada, and we're going to explain the significance of the stone shirt. We're going to show you a few things first that is going to, you ready for this, challenge the paradigm or the idea that stalactites and stalagmites, those big, huge, pointy things that are in the caves like Mammoth Cave, Howe Cavern, and Carlsbad Cavern, that those are not hundreds of thousands or millions of years old as the attendants tell you they are, and to show you that it's very possible that these could have been formed much more quickly and within maybe a few hundred or a couple of thousand years. Now, why is that important?
Because it affects our origin story. If it's been millions and millions of years for all these things to form, then that says evolution is potentially true. But if these things can happen quickly under the right circumstances and conditions, then it puts it on even playing field. You have the choice between evolution or creation.
That's right. And by the way, if you haven't heard, there are two choices out there. Although you may not see the second choice at your, local high school or college, you may not even see it at your own church if you do go to church. But it's called creationism. Some call it creation science, and it is another opportunity, or not an opportunity, but it's another worldview to take this evidence, same evidence that everybody else uses, and to piece it together and run it through that idea or paradigm and see if it fits. So why don't we start with our little stalactite here. This right here is about 3.5 inches long. And you remember where this was found?
It's under a bridge, but I'm not sure which one.
Right. It was a bridge that was built in 1940. Now take a look at this. If you were to take this and snatch it off of a wall at Carlsbad Cavern, and if they didn't catch you, that is, and you were to take this home and you were to give it to your science teacher at college, geologist, and say, hey, teacher, how long did it take to make a 3.5 inch stalactite or stalagmite? This is what they're going to tell you. You ready? The average is 1/4 inch for every 50 years. But let's be fair about this. Fast forming, meaning that there's maybe more water involved, okay? 1/4 inch in 1 year. So look at that. You've got a 50-year or 50-to-1 ratio in regards to how long something like this can form. What does that mean? It means that this 3.5 stalactite could be formed in either 30 years or 677 years. Now, guess which number the attendants at these Mammoth Caves and Carlsbad Caves use when they tell their guests. Maybe some of you have, and I would really appreciate if you would put in the comments section just exactly what you heard when you went to one of these caverns from the attendants as to the age of the stalactites and stalagmites. Now, in another place, and I did this research on the internet, and you can too, but it's hard-pressed to find it all. I'll tell you that right now. 10 centimeters, for those of you that go by 10 centimeters, equals 1,000 years, okay? Now, this is about almost 10 centimeters. This is just a little bit shy of 10 centimeters, okay? That's a 1/4 inch for 75 years. So we've already seen a 1/4 inch for 50 years, a 1/4 inch for a year, and this would be a 1/4 inch for 75 years. And when they did radiometric dating on, not this one, but one like this, it came back at 190,000 years. Case closed, right? Takes 1,000 years to form this. Excuse me, I shouldn't say that. 1,000 years to form this, minimally, and it was radiometric dated 190,000 years. What are we going to believe? What are we going to believe? Cave guides will typically tell you that one centimeter, and that's about the thickness of this right here, which I'll get into in just a second, equals 1,000 years. So they're all over the board, okay? And National Geographic said that in order to just carve the cave out, to give them a blank slate in order for these things to form, takes about 100,000 years. Well, if that's the case, then there is no Genesis, there is no 6-7 day creation, and there is no worldwide flood 4,400 years ago. That whole paradigm would just be thrown right out the door.
Except for the fact that with the flood scenario, you've got a lot of ground laid down very quickly, and those layers are still going to be somewhat soft. So post-flood, you've got a tremendous amount of minerals in the water, suspended in locations, and those things going through these caverns as the water drains off the earth, because those caverns could have been hollowed out very quickly by the amount of water that's draining off. You don't need long periods of time. So you got those caves, you got plenty of mineralized water going through the caves, and that growth could be fabulously fast.
So this right here comes to us from France. In France, they have a mineral area. I think it's called the fountains, mineral fountains in France. Regardless, this right here is a plaque. And what they do is they have a rubber mold, and they put this under I'm going to say a calcite falls. It's not like gushing, but it is more than a trickle. And it goes over various objects, and it also, as this is sitting in its rubber mold, it goes over this as well too. This is approximately a centimeter thick. What did we find out earlier that a centimeter takes to create when there's liquid calcite falling or dripping or whatnot? We found out that it's around 100 years. 100 years to form 1 centimeter of calcite. Friends, this right here took 8 months. 1 centimeter in 8 months. Now, and this is what we can observe, not theorize, observe. Now, fast forward, if we were to take that and we were to go 1,000 years at this rate, we would find that we could create a stalactite or stalagmite that is 50 feet long. And that's what we see in these caves. We see them 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. Well, let's head over to Fairmont Springs in British Columbia. My wife just got back from there, and we have some artifacts that came from that mineral springs. You want to tell us what you saw there?
It's fascinating because they have a big, beautiful, looks like maybe like an Olympic-sized pool, but it's big and beautiful and blue and clean and normal. Doesn't look like anything of interest other than a pool. But what happens is they have to drain it every night and wash it down with a special substance in order to prevent it from turning into basically a big stone bath, because it would coat and form that quickly. So every night that water gets dumped down over the hill through a pipe, and it created this huge formation. And I had read about it in this really cool book, Untold Secrets of Planet Earth. This is the Catastrophic Caves one. And I thought it was fascinating, so I wanted to see it for myself. And so I went there, and I not only saw that area that has grown, that big formation from the water being emptied every night, but there's another pipe a little farther down, and it's pouring down over the hillside and creating these beautiful hot baths. And so people were sitting in the first one, which was hottest, and then some of them in the middle one, which is kind of warm to hot. And then they got cooler as you went down, and then in the stream it was cold. But as you walked down through the stream, every single thing that dragged in the stream, like a branch, a small stick, pieces of grass, even hair, would get coated. And if you pulled like a branch out, it would look like a stone drumstick, because you'd have a stick with rock on the end of it. It was the coolest thing. It made the coolest formations, and we'll show you more of that in upcoming videos.
Yeah, we will. But for right now, we're going to show you one object. Then we're going to open up the box. So stick around for the box. You're going to want to see this. One object that is in calcite. And my friends, this is not just coated, but it's permineralized. Permineralization is the same process that the majority of dinosaur bones go through, meaning that There may still be some of the organic material. Oh, by the way, this is a sock. There may still be, go ahead and give them a closer look. There may be some more of the organic materials there, but the organic molecules or cells are coated or surrounded by crystals, and then they harden, and unless there you go. It hardens and it produces this. And this is the same structure chemically as the stalactites and stalagmites.
So just to fill in a couple of the blanks, if you're used to the idea of fossils and you've maybe heard of petrified wood or trees, but you're not really sure what all these terms mean, when something is completely, like say you've got a tree and it is completely turned to stone, there's no cells left, there's no material left of the actual tree, it looks like the tree still, but it's been completely replaced by the minerals, then that's called petrified. But if something only was partially replaced, then they call it permineralized. So you might have a dinosaur bone, for example, that got partly, it feels like stone, but in truth, there's maybe parts of the cells still there. So that would be permineralized. So the question is, with things like this, are they just coated, or are they actually permineralized or completely fossilized, petrified? Now, it depends on the type of material and how long it was in the solution, the mineralized water. So synthetic things are more apt to be, coated, at least in the beginning. But things like, say, a sponge, a natural sponge versus a synthetic sponge, we've seen tests done on them. We've talked to the author of this book, for example, and they're quite expensive, these tests. But if you run a test on a natural sponge that has been left in one of these mineral baths, it has turned completely to stone. Whereas a synthetic one is going to end up being coated, and it's going to be really tough for it to ever get through those synthetic fibers. So it depends on the substance, and it depends on how long it was in there.
All right, so let me just carefully set this over here. Why don't we open up our box? Here we go, guys. This is going to be, there you go, the stone shirt. And by the way, the book that my wife showed you, this book right here, this is the shirt that appears in this book. And for those of you interested in this book, we'll have a link in the description so you can check it out a little bit more closer. So we're going to see the actual shirt that appeared in this book that is, as the former owner of this tells us, is permineralized and not coated.
Now, just a side note about those books that he wrote. Often the accusation is that creation scientists or creationists don't do their homework on things. But, hold on one second, folks. But this guy is absolutely no slouch. Those books are thorough and scientific and yet fun and easy to read with tremendous amount of examples. So absolutely great explanations on all this stuff.
All right. Here we go. All right. And the idea behind the creationist proposition, so to speak, is that those caves had a lot more water going on inside of them than the drip, drip, drip that we see today.
Yeah, because if you look at the amount, first of all, the amount of minerals that are in the water going through these caves, there's not much. The speed, oops.
Yeah, there isn't a lot. So I get, that's the uniformitarian approach to understanding geology, that everything that we see today is as it was in the past. Oh, really?
So yeah, if you were to judge those, say stalactites from a cave, if you judge their growth based on how how much minerals are in the water and how fast the water's flowing at this point? Absolutely. Of course it would take a long periods of time. But if you look at it in terms of there was higher mineral rate at that point, higher water flow,
Wow.
that could happen quickly.
Oh,
and
man.
that's one of the things he was pointing out is everything that gets left accidentally, whether it's a piece of, chewing gum wrapper or a sock or a T-shirt, when those things get accidentally left in anywhere near these creeks or springs or any of this, they get coated, and then they get thoroughly replaced over time if it's the right substance.
You want to hold on to it? First impressions?
It's fascinating, but not surprising based on what I saw. Because again, you'd lift up a stick and you'd literally be holding a drumstick.
We're going to show you more of those, either in shorts or in more long form. Those are coming up. So
I'm not surprised. I mean, I even saw plants where the water was spraying from the waterfalls. It was coating the plants, and she
grabbed a bunch of those, boxed them up, and shipped them back here to Syracuse for us to be able to showcase, and we'll do that. So those of you that want to see these follow-up videos, my encouragement to you is to go ahead and subscribe. By the way, when you do subscribe, when you hit that little bell, there'll be a drop down. Hit the top one. That way you actually will get subscribed. Now, I guess we're done here. So why don't we go ahead and sign off? So the bottom line is that were these stalactites, stalagmites created quickly? And is there evidence that they could have created quickly? And I don't think any geologist would disagree with it. The question is, did they? And that's the thing that nobody can see. And so because geology says it's hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of years as far as the Earth's age, and the creationists say that life on Earth and the geological record, including these caves, are no more than 4,500 years, life set 6,000 to 7,000 years, but the worldwide flood and then all the geology that we see in sedimentation is no more than 4,500 years. You can see that there's a big disagreement as to whether or not these things, which paradigm is true. What we've demonstrated here briefly is just the idea of being able to see for ourselves today, and that's what science does, that these things, calcite, same material as stalactites and stalagmites, can form quickly when the conditions are right.
Absolutely.
So, all right. As we're leaving here, we invite you to watch our next video, or one of the videos that we had on the Australian petrified book. Check that out. I think it's going to be right here. And we'll see you in our next adventure. I'm John. This is Kristen.
Apes, aliens, or Adam.
Which did we come from? Have a good day.